After some thought, I decided to put all my chips in the middle for a bet of almost $300. I'm all in. My opponent thinks and puts in the call. I roll over my hand and he shows. How's it going, guys? I think today's the day. Alright, for this first hand, I have 5-4 spades in middle position. I decide to make it $15 after it folds to me, and I get 2 callers from the cutoff and the big blind. We go 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 6 deuce rainbow. Now this is a dry and disconnected flop, which means there aren't going to be that many strong hands that either of my opponents could have. Obviously, sets are possible, and so are king 6 and king deuce suited for 2 pair, but this would be a much better flop to bluff than a flop like king queen jack with a flush draw, where both of my opponents can have a lot more strong hands like 2 pairs or straights. That paired with the fact that I do have a gut shot so I can improve to a very strong hand means that after it checks to me, I'd go ahead and bet $20. I do expect to get called by top pair some strong hands a portion of the time, but if that does happen, I can put more pressure on my opponents if I pick up a flush draw on the turn. Fortunately, they fold pretty quickly and we take this one down. For this hand, we look down at ace queen suited. There's a limp and the button decides to make it $15. When it folds to me, I raise it up to $55 and the button makes the call. There's about 200 more left in my stack when we go off to a flop of queen 9 deuce rainbow. This player's kind of splashy, so with top I decided to bet a little big here so I can go all in by the turn. I make it $70 and he very quickly goes all in. I have top pair, top kicker against a very splashy opponent. I am not folding. I make the quick call. We go off to a run out, which comes 2 low cards I can't remember. He shows ace queen, and we chop this one up. Moving on, we pick up another big hand. We have pocket aces under the gun. I raise it $12, and I get 2 callers from the middle position and the small blind. We're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes 8-3 deuce with 2 hearts. After it checks to me, I size up to $25 to get value from flush draws, top pair, or even some over pairs. The older lady to my left, slowly and thoughtfully, puts out a raise to $80. Small blind player folds and is back on me. In the moment, I was a little bit concerned about sets, like pocket threes and pocket deuces, since this player did seem to be relatively tight, but there just isn't that much value I'm losing to. There aren't really 2 pairs that are possible. She's repping a very narrow range of sets and over pairs that don't 3-bet pre-flop, like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, and pocket jacks. Against that range, I'm doing very, very well. So I go all in, and she quickly calls. I flip over my hand. Before the turn and river are even dealt, she flips over pocket 3s for middle set. I am way, way behind. I need one of the last 2 aces in the deck to win here. But the dealer has other plans. He puts a 4 on the turn, and a 5 on the river. We make a straight. We suck out in a huge way, and we get a monster pot pushed towards us. With some new chips in my stack, I have king queen of diamonds in the small blind, and I make it $22 after 3 limps. The big blind and all 3 players call. We're going 5 ways to a flop, which comes 10-9-9. I check it, and one of the limpers decides to bet $25. It folds back to me, and with a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, I decide to make the call. The big blind calls too, and we're going 3 ways to a turn, which comes an offsuit 6. The big blind and I both check it, and the original limper bets again. And at this point, I just let it go and move on. We pick up another big hand. We got pocket queens on the button. There's 2 limps to us, and I make it $18. The big blind and both limpers make the call. We go 4 ways to a flop, which comes king 9-4 rainbow. Everybody checks to me, and I just can't bet here for value with this many players in the hand just yet. So I check back for pot control. The turn comes an offsuit 6, and everybody checks to me again. I decide to go for a little bit of value, and I bet $35, and everybody very quickly makes a fold. We pick up pocket queens yet again. This time we're in the cutoff. Everybody folds to me, and I make it $12, when the button and the big blind make the call. We're going to a flop of king 7-5 with 2 spades. It checks to me, and like last time, I'm going to exercise some pot control and check it back. After the button checks, we go off to a turn, which is the ace of spades. Not a very good turn card. It's even worse when the big blind leads out for $25. Not much thought process here. I just go ahead and put in the fold. For this hand, I pick up King Jack offsuit with about $400 in my stack. There's a middle position limp, and I'm on the button, and I raise it up to $15. I folds back to the limper, and he makes the call. We go heads up to a flop of 8-3-3. He checks over to me. I actually probably have the best hand here a lot of the time, but I decided to bet $15 here to deny equity from all the random cards he could have from turning in pair. He's not going to have a random 3 too often, but he might call me down with an 8. Anyways, he makes a call. We go off to a turn, which is a 10. He checks again, and I bump it up to $45. Unless he has exactly 10-8 suited or ace-3 suited, he really shouldn't be calling a big bet here at all. Sure, every once in a while he might get really sticky with ace-8 offsuit or something like that, but I'm not super worried about that. Anyways, he makes a fold, and we get this one through. For this hand, I have Queen 10 of hearts in middle position. The under the gun player limps, and I decide to raise it up to $15. The button and the small blind make the call, and the limper get out of the way. We're going to a flop 3 ways, which comes ace 7 deuce with the ace of hearts. Checks to me, and I decide to bet $20 here. It's unlikely that either of my opponents have a very strong ace here, so it's a good board for me to bluff. Additionally, if I turn a king, jack, or a heart, I do pick up a lot of equity, and I can put another sizable bet on the turn. But it doesn't come to that, and they both make the fold, and we take it down. This one's going to be a big one. I have $450 in my stack, and I have pocket 5s in the big blind. Middle position, an opponent who's fairly tight, opens to $13, and I'm the only caller. Flop comes 10-5-3 with 2 spades. I flop a set. I start with a check, and he bets $15. I go over my options, and ultimately, I decide to raise it up to $50. I want to build up the pot now, so I can get all the money in the middle by the river. He thinks, and ends up making the call. We're going off to a turn which comes to King of Spades. I'm not excited about this card. Obviously flushes get there, but more importantly, this is an action killer if he has a hand like pocket queens or pocket jacks. But I still think I can get value from worse, so I size up to $80 so I can have roughly a pot sized bet left over for the river. He thinks and makes the call. With around $300 in the middle, we go off to a river, which is an offsuit 6. This is a complete brick. If I was ahead on the turn, I'm still ahead now. My options at this point are to check, bet blocker size bet like $100, or to go all in. Pause the video right now and let me know what you would do down below in the comments. Okay, let's break this down. What hands can my opponent have that are ahead of me right now? Flushes beat me, but what combinations of flushes make sense? I think he could have any combination of the nut flush, queen jack suited, and 7-6 suited, which would have been a gutter on the flop. But that's pretty much it. Remember, I have the 5 of spades in my hand, so that eliminates the possibility of him having ace 5, 6-5, or 5-4 spades for a pair and a flush draw on the flop. He also can't have ace king, king queen, or king jack of spades because the king of spades is already accounted for. All in all, that's 10 combos of flushes that I think are possible for him. What about any other hands? I think he could have any combination of pocket kings for a top set. And he could also maybe have pocket 10s very occasionally, but I don't think that's super likely because most of the time that would check the flop. So from all of that, that's 14 total combos of hands that beat me. Now, what about the hands that I beat that would still call a river bet? He could have pocket 3s for bottom set, king 10 suited for top 2, and pocket aces. I also think it's likely that he floats flop with ace king when he has the ace of spades. If those were the only possible hands that he shows up to the river with that I beat and still call a river bet, that's 15 combos of hands. That's more than I lose to. Even though it's close, I should be betting this river. If my opponent ever has some combos of king 10 offsuit or ace king without the ace of spades, or maybe even a bluff catcher, then this becomes more and more of a slam dunk bet. After some thought, I decided to put all my chips in the middle for a bet of almost $300. My opponent thinks and puts in the call. I roll over my hand and he shows queen jack of spades. I think our read and assessment of the situation were correct, but we still lose a massive pot. That last hand was pretty frustrating, but we pick up another big hand. We have pocket jacks in the cutoff. An early position player makes it $10, and I raise it up to $35, and he's the only caller. The flop comes king, queen, 6, rainbow. He checks it, and this is just not a good flop for me to bet. I check it back. The turn comes an offsuit 9. I pick up a gut shot, but still not a very great board for me. He checks it, and I check it again. The river comes a brick, and he checks it for a 3rd time. I contemplate betting for a little bit of value, but I decide to just take my showdown value and check it back. He turns over pocket 10s, and we win this one. For this hand, it folds to the button who limps, and I'm in the small blind with queen 10 of clubs. I raise it up to $15 and the button makes a call. The flop comes 8 deuce deuce with 2 clubs. I decide to bet $15 here with my flush draw and he makes the call. The turn comes a king of diamonds bringing in the backdoor flush draw. I sized up to $45 so I can maximize my fold equity, and he calls again. The river comes to 6 of diamonds, completing the backdoor flush. I'm sitting here with a queen high and no showdown value. I also don't have a great bluff candidate because I'm blocking some of the hands I would want him to have, but I can't help myself. I'm making $110 and he finds a fold. We take this last one down. Just finished with that session. In for $800, out for a little under 6, something like that. Could have been worse, especially with that pocket aces hand. We could have lost our whole stack there, but we got lucky. That pocket fives hand where we flopped a set and then our opponent turned a flush against us, that was kind of rough. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video.